News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
And I'm Alexis Christoforous. Here are the stories we're following today.
Alexis, we begin with the latest developments in the Middle East. The U.S. and Iran have exchanged strikes for a 10th consecutive day. The escalation comes as mediators try to revive a truce. Bloomberg's Ziad Daoud said the Strait of Hormuz is the focal point of the latest fighting.
Basically, the current situation that we've had since the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding in June is that both countries are trying to control Hormuz. Iran realizes that Hormuz is its main leverage and needs to keep control of it. And the U.S. is trying to weaken Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz and prevent, or maybe even get ready for future closures. And that's where we're at now.
Bloomberg's Ziad Daoud said the Iran-backed Houthis say they would impose a maritime blockade on Saudi Arabia, putting at risk the flow of millions of barrels that the kingdom exports via the Red Sea.
And Karen, oil has surged about 20% since the June 17th accord between the U.S. and Iran unraveled, and it could go even higher. Goldman Sachs says Brent could rally to more than $120 a barrel by the fourth quarter if disruptions to the Strait of Hormuz persist. Checking oil right now, we've got Brent crude at about $88.80 a barrel, down 0.4%. WTI crude down 0.5% at $82.81 a barrel.
Alexis, we're also keeping an eye on global trade. The Trump administration is threatening to impose new tariffs on Canada. Bloomberg's John Tucker joins us with more. John, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. It is a big escalation. 50% tariffs on things like milk, plywood, and some very Canadian items like hockey equipment and beer. There will be no exemptions for exporters shipping under the rules of the existing North American Trade Pact. But the Trump administration says this is the result of Canada's unfair treatment of certain U.S. goods. Was set to take effect in 30 days, and this further strains relations with America's second largest trading partner. Well, last week, President Trump, you'll recall, threatened higher tariffs to punish Canada for wildfire smoke. The tariffs being applied under Section 338 of the 1930 Tariff Act. That provision has never been used before. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, thanks, John. And U.S.-UK relations are also in the spotlight this morning. President Trump has reached out to new U.K. Prime Minister Andy Burnham. Let's go to London now and get the very latest from Bloomberg's UN Pots. UN, good morning.
Alexis and Karen, Andy Burnham began his first full day in number 10 Downing Street with an announcement on the cost of living, a tax cut on energy bills. We're still awaiting details of any changes to foreign policy, but the new UK PM has already spoken to the leader of the country's most important ally. We're told that Burnham reassured President Trump that defence and security is at the top of his agenda. The US president also bagged himself an invitation for another visit to the UK, this time for the G20 summit set to be held in Manchester, where Burnham was mayor. In London, I'm Ewan Potts, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Ewan, thanks. Back here in the U.S., Arizona Republicans are heading to the polls today to choose a nominee to challenge Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs in November. Bloomberg's Amy Morris reports from Washington.
Two Arizona congressmen are vying for the Republican gubernatorial nomination. Five-term U.S. Representative Andy Biggs is a former chair of the House Freedom Caucus and has President Trump's backing. Eight-term U.S. Representative David Schweikert is giving up his competitive swing district seat after narrowly winning against strong Democratic challenges in the past three elections. Now, voters across the state will set the general election matchups for House seats and state and local offices. But Arizona's governorship is a top takeover opportunity for Republicans. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
Thanks, Amy. Let's turn to the markets now, where tech stocks are leading futures higher. NASDAQ futures are up about 1 1/3%. Yesterday was another volatile session after rising as much as 0.75%. The S&P 500 finished the day lower. Lori Calvasina is the head of U.S. equity strategy at RBC Capital Markets.
Look, we have an 8150 target over the next 12 months, so sort of a mid-2027 number at this point. But we've never said that it was going to get there in a straight line. And so we have been looking for pullbacks that would be, frankly, no worse than 5 to 10%.
RBC Capital Markets' Lori Calvasina's S&P 500 price target is about 10% above current levels, Karen.
Alexis, Taiwan Semiconductor is raising prices. Nikkei Asia is reporting TSMC will boost prices for advanced and mature chip production services by up to 10% in 2027. TSMC and other chip makers are grappling with the soaring cost of items employed in production, including materials, equipment, and power.
And the London Stock Exchange will introduce non-stop trading next year. The LSEG will open a new venue outside of its regular market hours in a move to offer near continuous trading in the working week. The new offering, which will be called LSE 24, will operate from 5 p.m. until 7:50 a.m. in London. It's expected to be ready for client testing by the end of the year. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Alexis Christoforous.
I'm Karen Moscow, and this is Bloomberg.